Welcome to the Live Full, Work Fun podcast. This is the show to encourage you to live your life to the fullest and do fun work that fuels your lifestyle. Hi, I'm your host, Gayla Scrivener. Every week, you'll be introduced to amazing guests, useful resources, and inspirational stories. You'll discover opportunities and perspectives to shape your version of living full and working fun. Hi there and welcome. This is the show where we explore topics that help you create your lifestyle to live full and work fun. I'm Gayla Scrivener, joined by my co-host, Fran Groesbeck. Hey, Fran.
Hey, Gayla.
You know, we've been diving deep into trust building series, and we're at week 3. And building trust is an important piece, I believe, in building a lifestyle to live full and work fun. And the definition of trust is the firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. I think it's important that we realize the definition and reiterate the definition. And you and I had determined that really the bottom line is trust translates in how we keep our promises. And we're in week 3, and we believe that trust is important in 4 areas. We started off the series in self because it all starts within ourselves. Last week, we talked about building trust with our team because then we're flowing out a little bit. Now, today, we're going to be talking about our customers and clients, having that trust with them. And then next week, we're going to talk about prospects and followers. So going right into talking about our trust with our clients, it's not just, well, I had down in my notes about onboarding, ongoing, expectations are clearly communicated because we need to ease fears and cloudiness. And then you reminded me, hey, it's a two-way street and we have the right to say no. So I'm going to go into first easing fears and cloudiness. When someone enters into an agreement with us, they're taking that leap of faith and they're scared. So we need to bridge that fear and build that trust that they are getting exactly what, they imagine. But you reminded me that we have the right to say no. And really easing the fears and cloudiness starts before we even sign that agreement. And can you speak into that a little bit, that we have the right to say no?
When you first start your business, I know when I first started my business, every call with a prospective client became nerve-wracking. And I had my own fears and cloudiness. I was taking everybody. And there were 2 instances where I get into the contract. And in one case, the client was abrasive to me and my team. In both print and in conversation, inappropriate comments ranging the gamut, requests, and even information they wanted us to put on the website and in the social plan was information, wording I would never use. And I started to work on it, and I realized I couldn't even ask my team to do it. I couldn't even put it in the project management system to ask them what this client was asking me to do. And I slept on it, and I woke up the next day and I said, we're going to have to part ways. Ended the contract. We dealt with ending the contract, but I had to say no because it didn't fit my principles. We'll talk about in prospects next week about saying no before that. I should have seen the red flags. The red flags were there when I interviewed that client, but it doesn't matter. Craft your contracts properly, but have that ability for you both to say no. And I know it can be scary. I said no at a time, Gayla, when I had only a handful of clients. I was still living on the savings I had put together to start my business. But how I felt after getting off that call I felt like I was running an Amazon-sized business because I stood up for myself. It was the best feeling. And when I explained to my team why, this ties back to last week, so I feel like they're all connected. When I told them why we let this client go, they were so proud, appreciative that I didn't even try to bring it to them, that I cut it off. Like I showed I was leading, I was living by the principles that we had set. I keep telling them what 10 Touch is founded on. I keep telling them what our principle is, what our promise is, what our purpose is. I lived it that day. And that, coming back to the first week of all this, that showed to myself. I kept a promise to myself because the principles I've built 10 Touch on are my promise to me, my clients, my team. And I lived it that day.
Well, I think that is so important. I too had a similar experience of the communication style of the other person. We had already entered into the agreement, but it was more demeaning, and that was not our work. That was not the business culture that I wanted to cultivate. And so the business culture that I wanted to is more of a positive instead of a negative and or derogatory or anything like that. And so I cut it off pretty soon after we entered into the agreement, because that, I think, incorporates with expectations clearly communicated. So if you within yourself already know the expectations that I'm not going to be treated this way, I'm creating a culture in our business that none of us will be treated this way. Why am I having a client treat me this way? Vice versa, if you are looking, I mean, if you're looking for services and a subcontractor, and that you are taking that leap of faith of, hey, I want to enter into this agreement, that communication style and the way that you work, the cultures and what you value and what the principles, they need to match. And it makes the relationship a lot better. And that builds trust if you can align your principles. Because most folks that I work with, they value long-term relationships. They don't want to just willy-nilly have, enter into a surface agreement knowing that, hey, this is only, I'm just doing it half-assed and just going to do it for 3 months and then I'll find somebody else. They value long-term relationships. They value their clients in long-term relationships. They value quality. They value respect. And their communication style is very much similar. So when we have hard conversations, because there's going to be hard conversations, whether it's with projects, whether, something happened and you feel like you've let your client down, you missed a deadline or you did something, you're going to have these conversations. And so it's important to have aligned principles and values. And obviously, we've not gone with our gut, or something went past us on the vetting stages and we entered into a relationship that the principles and the values were not aligned. But what's really good is that we can refer people to other companies that have a different corporate culture. It's not that we're right and they're wrong. It's just, it's not a good fit.
How can we tell their story if we don't have the right fit? If we're on different ends of the spectrum, if we don't connect our vibe. And that's leads into the other side where it does click, right? If you have a shared mission, this is why there's space for everyone, right? And we'll find our people and we'll connect, and we have our type of client, right? Then the next step is, once you find the right vibe, as you mentioned, this is where easing fear and cloudiness comes in. And a lot of times the first step is put yourself in their shoes. We've all been on the other end, no matter what business we're in. We've all been somewhere where we have to hire a contractor, whether it be for a house or a business. How do you ease the fears and the cloudiness and make that connection and the transition smooth.
And really, whether it's onboarding and ongoing, but when we first start our business, we don't really have an onboarding process. We're just trying to get any business we can. But over time, we're going to have these flags that come up and it's like, I'm going to do better next time. I'm going to do this because it'll make the start of this relationship run a bit smoother. I'm going to do this. I've adjusted things a lot over the years, and even with what service I will offer first. I had found in my business that oftentimes people are like, I'm ready to delegate my marketing stuff. So yes, I want a marketing implementation team, and let's just get going. And right out of the gate, because I'm a doer, so it's like, man, right out of the gate, we should be doing social posts, emails, and all of this. And I did not align the expectations properly and made a lot more stress and a lot bumpier because I needed the step before. We needed to create the plan. Actually, the before that is, do they have a clear and concise story that people can land on their website and know exactly who they are, who they serve, and what they're supposed to do to engage a business. A lot of folks that come to me first overwhelmed with growing their business and in seeking marketing help don't even have that marketing branding message, that narrative even written out. So we start there, and then we do a marketing plan for frequency and what should be involved in that. And then we do the implementation. I was so focused on implementing, and so many people came to me that they didn't have the planning part done first and the writing part. And that has made things so much better and our relationship so much smoother on onboarding. And even if I just did the planning part with them and it's the right fit for them to do the implementation in-house, that is okay. Or if things shift with my clients and we have these hard conversations like, I would like to bring some of this stuff in-house. It's like, yeah, at first it kind of stings. It's like, oh man, I should have done better. But no, opening up our mindset, it's like our clients need to evolve and graduate from as we evolve, so should our clients. So our relationship over time may shift. And through our communications and then aligning expectations. And one mistake that I had done with long-term relationships with my clients, it's just like, oh, we're just going to be evolving month to month, month to month. You need to pause and set expectations and have this conversation of like, what are we doing for next year? Are things progressing like you want? What are the likes? What are the dislikes? And set in smaller increments. Let's have goals and plans for the next 6 months, for the next 12 months, and have a quote unquote service agreement for time frame. They may not even think about wanting a service agreement, a new one. And this shouldn't just be for when you're ready to raise prices or what have you. That's a lesson that I have learned because you just go in the day to day. We're implementers, so we're just doing the same thing. But we've evolved as a business. Don't expect your clients to not evolve as well in their needs and their wants, and having that conversation so that you can realign expectations and kind of have a reset, but you've already have that trust built. And one of my trust building scenarios that I do is that I insist on a frequency of check-in meetings. We have to see each other on Zoom because I think showing up, it puts some accountability in anything because it's a two-way street. right? Just as anything, even when we were talking about teams, it's like show up and then how you can have open and honest communication. And and I instill a frequency of as best as we can have in person. I insist on Zoom. Sometimes we have some phone conversations with clients, but for the most part, it's check-in meetings with Zoom because I think we need to make sure that we continue to be aligned in principles and values.
And face to face carries a different vibe than phone. Although, if you have, I do have a client that phone works best, and chasing him down by phone is great. We share a lot of similarities in our strategy. We have story and planning. I call it strategy, planning, and connection. But either way, it's about getting clear on who they are, what they want to do, what they currently have in place, how they're doing things, because what that ends up doing is saves time and money in executing plans for growth. For example, someone came to me and asked for a new website, and I realized, how do we build a new website if I'm not clear on all these different moving parts? And this is a part of that trust building. Went back to them and said, this is how we do it. And there is an upfront cost to do this strategy and planning, but it will save you in the long run. And especially on websites, you can get a quote. No offense to website developers out there, but if a lot of them take on projects, send a quote, and then in the midst of it, you find out, oh, this wasn't included, or there's going to need more time or no more money to the budget because this was uncovered. Through doing this early work that we do, we uncover things early. So it's when we go into the actual growth work, when we go into the actual execution of whether it be website, social, newsletter, authority piece, whatever it may be, we have all the information. You tell the story better. And all of this, the client feels, they see. When they see that you can reflect back to them their messages, their story, trust is built instantly. And trust, just that feeling of, Fran and Gayla get it. Okay, their team gets it. Oh, those social posts is exactly what I've been trying to say. The newsletter, oh, that's what I want my company to look like. The website, oh, that's exactly what we were trying to do here all along. Each step you're building trust. And your added step of the calls, now we do a similar thing. I don't require the Zoom because, like I said, I have the one client who loves phone. Do encourage Zoom. If you're close enough, I want to meet in person. But that once a month, that accountability, support, having the person there to say, hey, how's it going? So, and this has happened where I have my monthly check-in and the client's like, I haven't posted to social because I kind of lost my jam. All good. Let's pick that jam back up. Let's get that flow going and give them some easy steps to get back into the groove. Also, they don't feel so alone. If you notice, I didn't respond like, oh, you should have done this. You should have done ABC. That builds trust. Okay, I can tell Fran anything. She's not going to judge me. She's not going to, and I know you do the same thing because you help me with some of my clients. So, and just all those pieces are, and when you have trust with a client, the long-term connection, making sure they know what you're doing, making sure they know that you get their story, and in turn that they give you the information back because they're the experts of them, right? They're the experts of their business. So sharing information, sharing what's new, not treating you like an outsider, that's that part of that two-way street. But all of this leads to great long-term relationships and connections.
And you touched on it, but asking questions is the onus is on us as the service giver for our clients. We need to get them so that we can fit into their culture because we become a part of their team. And so we need to get them so that we can amplify what they do. And we can talk them up if we feel a part of their team, whether, I mean, and you and I are both into marketing. So I'm not just talking about that in that sense, but I am super proud and genuinely proud and really like every single one of my clients because I want to see them succeed. But that's not without asking a ton of questions and them being receptive and wanting to talk about themselves, which is great. Then we can translate that of what they answer with us to get there, to be able to serve them better. And so if a contractor is not asking you a lot of questions, don't get frustrated if they are asking you a lot of questions, especially at the beginning. Or you may shift your trajectory of your business and you're in a little bit of no man's land a little bit. There's some confusion that comes up. It happens because we pivot a little bit in our businesses. And your service contractor is asking you more questions. Don't be frustrated because you think, oh, they should already know this. It means that they're trying to serve you better and align things better so that you can be successful. So that's my take on that.
I, I
It's
agree with
showing
that.
up and communication.
I will actually give that caution when I go into a call and be like, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions today. And it's not that I haven't read the documents you shared. I need to understand. And it was funny, they do get by the end of the conversation why I asked the questions. It just happened to me with beginning of a strategy. So my calls are broken out into strategy, planning, connection, and started the strategy one. And I asked the questions intentionally to lead to the point that they had missed one of the core pieces of who they were in they shared with me their strategic plan. The beauty of the man who founded this company is only touched on. It's the core of their story. And he is a beautiful, amazing man with such integrity. And it was touched on, but it wasn't, it should be the foundation. And it was funny, as I asked the questions, it helped them. At the end, they kind of went, I see why you're asking all these questions. And yes, we do want this to be. I was asking, the way I asked was also to see maybe he didn't want it to be. Maybe there was a reason, but the more he talked, the prouder he got about his history and how he did it, where he started from. And it led to, they realized by the end of the call, this isn't in there. And it was intentional. I wasn't trying to trap them, but I was trying to learn because I didn't want to just assume they missed it. Maybe there was a reason. Never make an assumption, right?
Right?
So I asked questions, and all of a sudden I started to see it was a miss, and they saw it too. And then they helped me know which parts they would be okay with sharing and which parts too personal, going to leave it out. And we ended up with a really good first solid part of building the adapt and flow process for them.
And when someone hires us or when we hire someone else, that communication and all those questions on learning really all the details so that you can achieve the goals of why you hired to begin with. And it takes sometimes as a service provider, I mean, we do the brunt of the work because we are staying in our areas of genius. That's why they hired us. But also on the flip side, when you hire someone and they give you homework, we need to put that into importance because, and like you said, sometimes homework isn't done and we just need to have that open communication. But we hired them for a reason and we need to trust. You already had trust before, a certain amount of trust that they have the professionalism and the experience to get you to reach whatever goal that you hired them to do. So start with that trust. And if they ask you to do something, even though you say, oh, I've tried that before and it didn't work, we trusted them, we hired them, we paid that deposit, or we're paying them to do a job. In order for them to do the job, they need certain things from us. And so we need to be open-minded. So both parties need to have that open-mindedness, to have the open communication, to follow through on things. And that builds a great deal of trust. Well, I think that we've got through that. And I'm excited for next week where we talk about building trust through prospects and followers and how we do that. But do you have any final words, Fran, about building trust with clients or customers?
I love what you said when you started. Ease fears, ease cloudiness, clearly communicate, address expectations, both sides for your team, for your client. Make sure if that's always done, it will all trust will be built.
Because we're
Always.
all human. We're
Yep.
all human. We all have our stories that we talk about in ourselves. And it is great to have these service providers that are in our corner helping lift us up and succeed. And mutual, we want them to succeed as well. So, well, I would love to continue this conversation in the Facebook group. Hop over to Facebook and post what your biggest takeaway from today's show was in the Live Full Work Fun group. Until next time, I would love for you to have a fantastic week, and always remember to live full and work fun. This episode has been brought to you by Scrivener Social, the easy-to-use social scheduling platform built for the busy solopreneur. You deserve a system that makes posting to your social media faster and more efficient. Go to scrivenersocial.com and subscribe today.